Hey folks, I thought we could have a 5-year update on the EV landscape in Australia because it's looking pretty positive. As I was researching for the next few videos, I noticed how much more significant the EV market is here this year compared to last year, or the year before actually. And I figured that we can use all this information to gauge where we're at in this transition to EVs here in Australia to kind of give some clarity to it. Because it was tragically slow compared to some other countries in the West, even though we have plenty of money and we have an abundance of irradiant energy from the sun. So I know I could show you a graph and be done with it, and it would take 10 seconds, but it isn't really explaining anything, and a graph won't really explain what's to come in the future over the next few years. So keep watching to the end and let me know what you think in the comments. Sit back and grab a drink while I rant a heap of numbers at you and the cat meows. Let's start back in 2018, 5 years ago, because it was basically a dead market back in Australia, and we have to start somewhere. So once a month, you'd maybe see a Tesla. That was about it in Australia. Total EV sales in 2018 came up to 2,216. The UK and Norway had significant EV sales. About 45% of cars sold in Norway were electric and 1.5% in the UK. Australia was something like 0.1% in 2018. It was basically, there were just no electric cars. 2019, total EV sales in Australia came to 6,718, which is almost triple the year before. 2020, there were 6,900 total EV sales. This is the pandemic year, of course, so the world closed down, especially China and Melbourne. Nothing sold in 2020 other than toilet rolls and face masks. Certainly no EVs. 2021, there were 20,665 total EV sales. I think people had been placing orders maybe in 2020, massive delays getting the cars here until 2021, and that meant there was a big spike in registrations in 2021. 2022, last year, 33,410 EV sales in total. 2022 also saw the number of EVs on our roads basically double, from 44,000 EVs on the roads to 83,000 EVs on the roads by the end of the year. Also, a total of 777,688 passenger vehicles were sold in 2022, and of those, 4.3% of those passenger vehicle sales were electric vehicles. So this does include utes, but excludes commercial vehicles such as vans. 2023 and beyond looks way better than we hoped for, especially with BYD in the mix now, selling EVs from China, and MG and other brands too. Current numbers for this year suggest that we will sell something like 79,000 EVs this year as a minimum, and likely up to 96,000, if not more, EVs by the end of this year. But next year it's clearly going to be far better than this year. With the advent of the Chinese car market coming to Australia, people will be placing orders this year for things like BYD vehicles, not to mention other brands. And now that the pandemic has left us, the world is kind of moving again. BYD sold 1,270 electric vehicles in December last year, and we now know that it is quite a lot more in the first 6 months of this year. The first 5 months of this year, we know it's a lot more than 1,270 per month. And as far as we can see, they will be selling a heap more than this throughout this year. They just released the Dolphin, obviously, and then the BYD Seal will come in August or so. And then the next one after that is going to be the BYD Ute, and then a BYD SUV will follow in the coming months, like at the end of the year, beginning of next year. And there's, of course, the MG4 and other Chinese EVs brands. So I'm sure there are a lot of people that are quite happy that they can go out now and buy an electric vehicle as it is now. and drive it hundreds of kilometers on a charge and get home and power it from their own solar panels at home, which is really great. This is Australia, so there's a load of sun. Obviously, not everyone is fortunate enough to have solar at home, but for a lot of people, they can. And a small 5 kilowatt solar system here in Queensland, for example, could likely produce somewhere around roughly 200 kilometers of range per day, very, very roughly. And I'm sure some people will have more data on this. So feel free to write it in the comments, because I'm sure people will be keen to check out what people can drive on a day's worth of solar. But here in Queensland, it's sunny and bright every day. And to be honest, it's kind of relentless. It's every day of the year. Also, people can set up some solar at home in the garden with some fairly cheap stuff, like a used inverter or a Chinese inverter that's maybe brand new from AliExpress, and maybe get a rack battery. And then charge up their car like that. So it's completely separate to the house. It's not connected to the grid. I'm not saying you won't have reliability issues with a Chinese inverter bought from AliExpress, but if you choose well, you could probably do fairly well out of it, I reckon. I know for sure that there are people, thousands of people, using them here already and having no issues in regards to them stopping working. Doing slightly odd things, yes, but not stopping working. And I literally know someone who has one server rack battery connected to a $600 or $650 Chinese inverter from AliExpress, with $200 worth of used solar panels, and they've ran their electric car from that every day for almost 3 years. With zero issues. They've just sort of built it all together, altered a couple of connectors on the solar panels and whatnot a couple of times, but basically no issues at all. And they've driven 50,000 kilometers and it's going great. With the amount of irradiant energy that we have access to here in Australia, we really should be at the top with the amount of EVs that we have on our roads. We have this energy hitting us in an abundance every day, and fair enough. Solar panels are quite a dilute way to harvest the sun's energy, but it does work and we have to know how to do it. Thanks to anybody for joining on Patreon or YouTube memberships, or anybody that has thought about buying me a coffee. Links to these are in the description below. And as I've said earlier, this allows me to keep on creating these videos, which involves investing a huge amount of time in thorough research and communicating with companies. My goal is to provide you with accurate information that you may not find readily available in the mainstream media. And the easiest way you can help is just to click the like button if you're a bit skint. This is YouTube. My videos are free. It makes a huge difference because I'm trying to do this as my day job. And when you click the like button, when you chip in, you're helping me spread the information out there to help boost the uptake of EVs, in particular the cheaper end of the market, which is the part of the market that we really need to get going. I think now that the EVs are here and it's very sunny here, we will likely see a quicker rise in sales than even the UK did over the past 5 years, even though we were later at really starting with the sales of EVs. And even though people are concerned about Australia being larger, I don't think this will really change the numbers very much at all. And this graph here shows us really where the UK currently is at, and I suspect we will be something like this, but with a larger increase in between the years, so we'll be ahead in a few years' time. The UK has much less sun and much higher electricity prices, and they still saw a great amount of EV sales in the UK, so I imagine what we will be seeing over the coming 5 years, I think it's pretty exciting. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button so that YouTube know that people are enjoying it, and subscribe for more daily videos about electric vehicles, because there's a huge amount of stuff that I'll be covering throughout the course of this year and the years to come, actually.